So, this is in continuation to the previous lecture, that is the difference between the time taken by the reflected light as well as refracted light is different. So, difference between two times is equal to delta t is equal to t2 minus t1. When we put the value of t2 minus t1, we will get this answer. This 2 is cancelled with 2 and delta t become dv square upon cq. If there is a difference between time, then there must be a difference between their paths. So, the path difference corresponding to this time difference can be calculated by path difference delta x is equal to velocity into delta t, okay, because distance is equal to velocity into time. So, velocity c, velocity of light, delta d is d into v square upon c cube, and c is cancelled with this cube, remaining term is d into v square upon c square. This is the path difference. It means in one case the light travel more distance as compared to the first. So, this is the difference between their paths, path difference. Now, when there is path difference, then there is shift in the number of fringes. You know that when one light ray reaches at here, this point, at one time, and second ray reaches at this point after some time, so there is path difference. Due to that path difference, there is shifting in the fringes, which will observed in the telescope. So, shift in fringe delta n. So, there is corresponding shift in the fringes is delta n, which is equal to path difference over distance or lambda wavelength, sorry, distance measured as wavelength. So, this is d into v square upon c square into lambda. It is fringe shift. So, it is assumed that maybe this shift becomes 0 when we rotate the whole apparatus by an angle of 90 degree. So, rotate the whole apparatus by 90 degree angle. It means when we rotate it by 90 degree, then this m1 will reach at this m2 will reach at here and t will here. It means the second refracted ray become perpendicular and refracted ray become parallel. But after rotating the whole apparatus by 90 degree, then again the same result will be obtained. The same result is obtained, that is fringe shift is again remains same, that is 2 dv square upon c square lambda. Beside it becomes 0, it becomes double. It becomes double because in the previous case fringe shift is this, and after rotating again fringe shift of same amount is obtained, and the total fringe shift is double of the previous 2 into dv square upon c square lambda. So, on putting the values of d, v, c and lambda, taking d as 11 meter, lambda as 5.9 10 power minus 7 meter and v upon c as 10 power minus 4. Then on putting all these values, on putting all values of the parameters, we will get delta n is equal to 0.37. The answer is 0.37. So, this is fringe shift. Why this shift is observed? Because there is time lag or distance gap between the two rays. So theoretically, it shows that there is time gap between two rays, but practically, but practically or experimentally, this difference is not observed. This difference is not observed. Means practically delta n is 0. When we see through the telescope, then there is no shift in fringe has been observed. Therefore, the experimental result shows that there is no difference in the fringes or null result, but theoretically there is a difference between the fringe shifting. So this result is contradictory. Theoretical result, basically this is theoretical, this is experimental. So there is contradiction between the theoretical and experimental results. So why this contradiction is produced? So this is because either the Michelson Morley assumed that there is an ether and it's moving with velocity v. Either this assumption is wrong or something went wrong during the experiment. So to prove the zero result, or null result, there are two explanations. So explanations for proving this result should be 0. First explanation is this: ether drag. First it's called ether drag. Drag means moving along with the earth. So in the previous article, we have observed that, or Michelson Morley observed that, there is an ether around the earth. But this ether is also dragging along with the motion of earth. As we know, earth is rotating, the ether is also rotating. So there is no difference between the velocities of ether as well as earth. So when we put relative velocity of ether with respect to earth is 0, put v is 0. What is v? Velocity is the relative velocity of ether with respect to earth. So when ether is dragging along with the motion of earth, then v becomes 0. Then delta n is equal to 2 dv square upon c square lambda. If v is 0, then we will get 0 into something 0, which means we get null result. So this is first explanation. We can justify that ether is there around the earth, but it is also moving or revolving around the earth as the earth itself. So first explanation is this. The second explanation for null result is Lorentz-Fitzgerald contraction. Lorentz-Fitzgerald contraction, LF contraction. What is contraction? This contraction is the relativity effect of length. As you know, as you studied in the previous book, mechanics, the length appears shortened when it is in the relative motion to the other object. So same concept is here, Lorentz-Fitzgerald contraction, that is, there is contraction in the length or in the distance, which is along the direction of ether. The velocity of ether is this and distance is this. So this distance appears shorter. There is contraction in the distance. So this distance becomes shorter. This d remains d, but this d is reduced by relativity factor. So that is called Lorentz-Fitzgerald's contraction. So the length or distance is reduced by 1 minus v square upon c square under root. So this is relativity factor by which the length or distance appear shorter than the other. So this distance is perpendicular to this velocity of ether. So it remains same, but this distance is along the direction of ether. So this length or this distance which is along the direction of ether appear shorter. So by this contraction, the null result is obtained. So in this case, there is time t2. So t2 time will change. T1 remains same because there is no change in distance or contraction. This contraction observed is only along the direction of ether. So T2 also become T1, means the values for both T1 and T2 become same. The value for T1 and T2 is both are same, that is difference in T is T2 minus T1. If both are same, then it will become 0. If delta T is 0, it means delta x also becomes 0. Delta x 0, it means delta n also becomes 0. And hence, in this way, the null result is obtained. Why we are approaching towards null result, 0 result? Because practically in the telescope, there is no shift in fringes has been observed. That's why we are proving the 0 result. But theoretically, it was not 0, it was 0.37. So these two corrections have been made in the Michelson Morley results. So basically these corrections have been made due to wrong assumption in the Michelson Morley experiment. It means overall, it is observed that the ether is existing around the earth, and it is also dragging along with the earth. Thank you very much.